there, this is Scott Thompson from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the author of the novel 8 Days, about life and eternity. And I'll be talking today with Harry from Carry On Harry.
Thank you for joining Asia's best radio station.
Download latest podcasts of Carry On Harry Show on iTunes.
Now shake hands with celebrities on Singapore talk show Carry On Harry.
Inviting music composers, producers, artists on board on Carry On Harry Talk Show for connecting you to worldwide audience. Write to Harry Johal at carryonharry.com or visit www.carryonharry.com for more details.
Hi friends, welcome to yet another episode of Carry On Harry Talk Show with your talk show host Harry Johal, and today I'm really excited to connect with my guest author joining me from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm talking about Mr. Scott Thompson. He's a book author and he has written a wonderful book titled 8 Days, which we are going to discuss with him. The 8 days, what are those 8 days which he has written in the book is going to be the talks about today. But at the same time, what is most interesting is the line which I read attached to the book says, life's short when compared to eternity, but eternity is only worth it because of life. Sounds quite deep in meaning. So let's get in connection with Mr. Scott and get to know more about what does this life is all about, what eternity he's talking about, and how the two things are connected to the book 8 Days. So let's get in connection with him on the show Carry On Harry.
Hello, this is Scott.
Hi Mr. Scott, this is Harry calling from Singapore.
Hello, Harry. How are you doing?
I'm perfectly fine, sir. It's a wonderful morning over here in Singapore, quite early. It's just touching to be 7 right now over here. How's your evening?
Oh, it's great. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, sir. Yes. So, a lot of excitement is going on in my mind when I, read the name of the book that you have written, 8 Days. But, more than that, what I'm curious to know is the tagline attached to it, life's short when compared to eternity, but eternity is only worth it because of life. What does that mean?
That's right.
What does that mean?
Well, I think that means that what we do here on Earth now is what's going to create the eternity for us. So the decisions that we make will follow us into eternity and after this life.
It sounds, very much similar to the concept of karma, which says that if we are going to do good deeds, ultimately we are going to face, heaven. But if we are more connected towards, creating confusion and, doubts and, bad things into the world, it is going to lead us into hell.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's it's a concept that crosses many religions and nationalities and races. I think everyone knows these things deep down. Now, how we interpret those is up to us, but we all know these things. Even the biggest atheist, the most adamant atheist, has a moral code that they're born with. And so I think everyone knows these things. But in the book, I tried to explain them through a novel, through fiction, but in an interesting way.
Well, definitely it seems like the book cover itself and the synopsis attached to 8 Days talks a lot in depth about eternity, life, and the things that you have woven into the book. But before we really touch about 8 Days, we want to know more about yourself, sir. Tell us about yourself. When did writing became a part of your life and how did it all start?
Well, I've always been a storyteller. I live near Atlanta, here in Georgia, in the American South. And I was raised here in a smaller town. Now I'm in the big city of Atlanta, which is an international city like any large city. But when I was growing up, I grew up in a smaller town. And in the South, we use stories to teach. Even when someone doesn't know they're doing it, they use a story to teach. Stories are lessons. So even before people had any kind of education where they knew how to write or they didn't write very well, they still at least told stories and passed on guidance to the next generation. And I think that's been done worldwide everywhere. So I grew up with some really great stories here in the South. And as I grew up, I became a storyteller myself. And as I grew older, I had to kind of learn how to take the stories that I told and put those on paper or into a story. And it took a little bit of a while to do that. My first book wasn't published until I was 39, and now it's a few years later, and I've got this next book. And it's always a learning process, always learning better ways to tell the story, better ways to write. So being a storyteller is something that's natural, I guess what you might call a talent. But the craft of writing is something that I've had to learn. So just like someone may be a great athlete, they still have to learn the skills that go with that athleticism to become a great athlete. And that's something that I'm always learning and always improving on, is the craft of writing, or the actual skills that go with the writing. So it's something that's always been there, but something that I also continue to improve on and work through.
It sounds, quite, good way to express, when you told that, story writing, storytelling is as a sort of an art. So over the years, since you have been connected with writing, various things, would you like to share with us a few experiences or, your analysis about what makes a good story? What are the elements that are very essentially required to construct a good story?
Well, to tell a good story, people love stories. And in a story, a good story is going to tell something about a truth of life. It's going to tell us something that's going to, it's something that everyone can relate to. So a good story is going to be a good story no matter where you are in the world, whether we're here in the American South or we're somewhere else in North America, maybe Canada or Singapore or Australia. It doesn't matter. A good story is a good story no matter where you are. In a good story, in a novel or fiction, there's more truth than if I was just to tell you these things. If I was to say, you really need to be a good person because whatever you do here on life is going to follow you into forever. Well, you may hear that, you may not. But if I tell that in a story, and I tell you a story about a man who died and has to go back and review everything in his life and see what he did right and see what he did wrong and face the things that he did wrong before he could move on, that's more interesting. So you can tell the same things that are universal truths, but you tell those through a story. And people enjoy things that are enjoyable. I mean, take the most simple story ever that we really enjoy here, like the Superman story. There's great truth in that story. The things that he does, he sacrifices himself. He could be an evil person and take over the world and have lots of money and power, but instead he sacrifices himself. He uses his power to do good things. And we all have that ability. We have education, maybe we have intelligence, maybe we have wealth, maybe we're physically stronger, and we have to make those decisions. Do we use those things just for ourselves, or do we use those things to help other people?
Correct. Mr. Scott, does it always inspire you to write more about eternity, life, and life after death, those kind of subjects, or did you really venture out into this particular subject through this book, which we are discussing today?
This book was different from what I usually write, but I do think whether the story is about the afterlife or heaven, all my stories are trying to understand what our purpose is here on earth, and trying to understand how do we use the gifts that we're given and how do we recognize the good things that we have. So I love the American South, and to write my stories in that setting. And I may pick another setting later, but that's what I've worked with so far because I know that setting. But the bigger thing is not so much about eternity or heaven, but it's really about life. And even though this book looks like it's about the afterlife, the secret is that it's really about the life that we're living here and what we do with what we have here.
Correct. So would you like to, give us a few, hints or, outline of the story, what the story is about? What is this 8 days?
That's right. Okay. Well, the main character is a man named Clive Kinsella, and he dies. He dies at the beginning of the book, and then he kind of almost wakes up, and he's at his own funeral. Of course, no one can see him because he's now a ghost. He's crossed over. Then someone meets him who's going to take him on a journey through his life, a sort of a review of his life. And this goes on for 8 days because there are 8 large things in his life that he's never dealt with. So these things include mostly family issues and things like maybe not reaching all of his goals and dreams and the normal stuff that sometimes we just get, life gets in the way and we have to push things to the side and we don't get to do the things we want to do. We don't always do things the right way. Maybe sometimes we hurt people that we really care about, and those things never leave us. Maybe we're hurt ourselves and we don't let go of those things. So before he can move on to a perfect place, before he can move on to eternity, he must deal with these 8 things. Mm-hmm. So for 8 days, 1 item per day, he goes back with his guide, who happens to be his grandfather, mm-hmm. who had passed on well before him. And his guide takes him 1 day at a time, and they see his life. So you're getting to see his life in the story. So you go back and you see parts of his life. So you see when he was a young man, when he was young right out of college. You see when he was a father and the mistakes he made and the things he did right. You see his work life. You get to examine his marriage to his wife. Those sorts of things that he maybe made mistakes or felt like he didn't do as well as he could have. And he has to deal with those things. Now, in the book, if he can't deal with each of those things, he gets stuck in the in-between as a ghost, so he never gets to move on to heaven. So that's kind of the fun part of the story. Now, if he does deal with each of these things, he gets to travel to a place that he's never been before. So on one day he goes to Australia. On another day he goes to Yosemite National Park, which is in California here in the U.S., a beautiful national park. So he gets to go to these places that he had never been to before that he wanted to travel to.
It sounds quite interesting and unique concept. Was there somewhere in your mind that one day this sort of a subject can even be considered for picturization into the film format? Was there somewhere in the mind?
When I'm writing the story, I was just focusing on the story and on the book at that time. But now that the book is out there, I've definitely thought about that a little bit. It's I think it would make a really good film, and the setting would be interesting. It's a low country South Carolina, a very part of the American South has lots of Spanish moss covered trees and lots of mythology and secrets, and it's an interesting setting. And then the characters, I think, are interesting as well. So yeah, it would make a good film, and if anybody ever wants to approach me about that, I'm definitely interested in talking to them.
Well, the outline definitely is quite interesting, and the success of book basically will be, the kind of situations, difficult situations you have created, for the character to go through. So for you, while you were writing 8 days, to create all those difficult situations in which the character goes through and travels to the ultimate eternity that he wants to achieve, how much time it took for you, and how difficult and challenging was it for you to create those 8 obstacles or situations which the character goes through?
It's hard to say exactly how long it took to create the story. Probably a few months. One thing about writing is sometimes you can get through the first draft of the story within a few months, but it's the edits when you go back and you spend a lot of time molding the story and really making sure that everything is clear. So it took a couple of years before it finally go through the entire process of writing, of editing, then finding a publisher, and then the editors at the publishing house working with the book and going back and forth with the editor. And then, you go through the process of having a cover designed, and you look at different things, and, you speak with the designer so they have a feeling, the concept of what you're looking for in a cover, and then they create something based on what they understand it to be. So it took a couple of years overall for the book from the first word that I wrote until it finally until it was printed and the first person was able to see it.
Correct. Today, when you read the book back or think about it, or people when they give you the feedback about the book, what do you think that the bond creates between the Clive and the reader? What do you think the reader gets glued to the character of Clive while the story of 8 days, moves ahead?
It's tough to say. The characters in a book, and the story in a book, or a story in a short story, or whatever, are much like a song. It's going to mean different things to different people. So let's say you hear a song and it has one meaning for you, and then I hear the song and it has a completely different meaning for me. Maybe I think of my child when I hear some lyrics from the song, and you might think of someone you loved once, and then the person who wrote the song is like, no, it's not. I wrote this song about my grandmother, or whatever. It doesn't matter. art, whether it's music or writing or paintings or music, any of those things, anything that's an art is going to mean different things to different people. So in a way, once I create the story and I created Clive and I put him out there, he's going to be who he needs to be for different people. So I don't know exactly why people like him. He's, of course, there's a little bit of me in him, but there's also a little bit of me in most of the characters. And really, he is his own person. He's someone who was a really good person and kept putting their own life on hold to take care of family responsibilities and those sorts of things. And his dreams never came true. And he became a little bit grumpy about that in the end. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He did everything right, and things still didn't turn out like he wanted. But in the end, he gets to see that, everything turned out like it should be. You still had a very beautiful life. You still had a great life. And that's sometimes that's something that we forget. So I hope through Clive that people will notice that and will learn with him. As they go through the book, I hope they'll learn with him. So maybe in that way they'll be attached to Clive and they'll become sort of friends with him because they're going through an experience with him. Just like if you and I were to go through something difficult, we would become very close during that process. And I hope the readers do the same thing with Clive.
Correct. Normally, when we are writing, or when we are thinking about anything, we think according to our own personal character or, our own personal way of thinking. While you were conceiving the character of Clive, how much you were able to, separate Clive from your own personality or the way Clive thinks? And was there like any situation where you thought that imposing your personality on Clive's would give a different twist to the storyline or behavior of Clive? How did you separate the yourself from the character Clive?
Well, I think it's something you have to be very, very aware of when you're creating a character, that you do want to let that character evolve and become who they are. Even if you create a character that's based on someone that you must let that character evolve into its own person. For one reason, so that it can be real, but also so that you'll let that character experience pain and difficulties that people experience. Even if you create a villain or an antagonist and you base that on someone you don't like, you must let that villain or antagonist evolve and become its own person, or you'll never give that villain or antagonist a chance for redemption or a chance to become better. And also you'll just create them as just a flat, boring character. Clive was built up of a lot of different people, and he really became his own person. So there's no one person, and it definitely wasn't me that I based him on. He really is his own man. I think that's just something that the more you write, you get better at it. And as long as you're aware to make sure that the character is not too close to you, the better you'll be. Because if you make the character too close to yourself, you'll never embarrass the character. You'll never let the character feel the pain it needs to feel. You'll make the character way too cool. So, you can't base them on yourself. You have to let them be their own.
Correct. While you were developing the character of Clive and while the story was still under the writing stages, how much did you enjoy creating, problems and issues in the life of Clive? Since you were like a god to that particular character and you had a pen, you could twist and turn the situations in his life to any side. So for you, that creation process of things happening in Clive's life to keep the storyline more interesting, did you really enjoy all those moments when you were thinking about, okay, this situation can be more dramatized if you are writing like more challenging stuff? How was that particular experience for you creating the things?
It's actually difficult to hurt your characters, and that's what you do. I think it was Stephen King, and I'll be paraphrasing, but Stephen King, the author who writes a lot of the films that we've seen and the books that are generally kind of scary books or science fiction type books. Mm-hmm. Stephen King said something along the lines of, you create the character and then you do terrible things to them. And that's what you have to do to make it interesting, but it's not easy. These are the 8 days are generally the worst 8 things that Clive had to deal with in his life. So they're all very painful things. We can all think of things in our own lives that were very difficult and that were very painful. And if you have a friend and you see them go through difficult situations, it's going to hurt you also. You're going to be sad for them. If they do something stupid or wrong or screw up their life, you're also going to be disappointed in them. Maybe you'll be angry with them. So it's similar, something along that same lines. It's similar to that, where you do feel sorry for them, and it hurts you to hurt the character. So it's not easy to do, but it's necessary to do. If you're going to tell an interesting story.
Correct. As the story progresses towards the climax, what sort of things were in your mind to put into the mind of the reader, apart from understanding what the story is all about? Is there some sort of a message which goes towards living a life with good deeds, which ultimately leads us to eternity? Was that message also simultaneously in your mind while you were going through the story?
When I was writing the story, I studied a lot of different books on heaven and eternity, but really I wanted to write the story about life and about living a good life and finding the things that matter here. So even though the story takes place after death and the final part is hopefully heaven, it's really about life. So what do we do here that matters? And I believe that that's love. We find people to love and we take care of them. And we love deeply, and that's really what matters the most. It's not about becoming successful. It's not about becoming rich. It's not about having an expensive car or a giant house or looking good. The most important thing you can do is find people and love them and take care of them, and that's something that everyone can do. Everyone can't be rich. Everyone's not going to be successful, but everyone can find someone to love and take care of.
I think
that's the real message.
It's a wonderful message that somewhere it does touches our emotional needs of how we want to see our life. That's why somewhere I also think that the line attached to it, life's short when compared to eternity, but eternity is only worth it because of life. So I can also relate it this way, that if we are going to value our present life, whatever way it is also a sort of eternity, that we are living a life which ultimately is blessed upon us as a gift. There are some good things in it, some not so good things in it, but ultimately all those not so good things are also taking us towards something which is very good for us.
Yeah, that's right. If everything was perfect, we would begin to take life for granted. And we've all done that when things are going really, really well. We begin to take the important things for granted. I mean, if you have a lot of money and everything's been easy for you, you might treat other people poorly. Sometimes there's a lot of these different situations. We could go through those all day, but you got to be careful not to take life for granted. So sometimes these difficulties are put in our life maybe to humble us. As my wife was discussing last night, I think about something not terrible, but a little bit of an annoyance that happened to her. She said, I think sometimes these things are put in our lives to make us humble. Because maybe we get too cocky, we get too confident. Correct. And then there's always those things that kind of bring us back down to reality and make us appreciate the things that really matter. The happiest people I've ever met anywhere are not always the people who have the most things or the most wealth or whatever. Sometimes the poorest people you'll ever meet are the happiest. And because those people have found out what matters. They understand what matters, and that's being around people they care about and just enjoying every little moment and enjoying what counts. And knowing that things may not stay good, so when things are good, you make sure you learn to appreciate those. And those are things that we all learn as we get older as well, of course.
I think these words are like gems. I would say that these are the things which we continuously need to be reminded about. And I feel very much honored, Mr. Scott, that you have added these words also, apart from discussing about the stories and the novel that you have written. And this definitely is going to somewhere touch our minds once again as a reminder that we have to somewhere feel happy about the moment that we are living in by appreciating each and everything in our life. Mr. Scott, are you also writing any other concept right now, or your focus is still on 8 Days and you are still in the process of hunting new ideas about writing some other book?
No, there's plenty of ideas. That's one thing. I keep a lot of notebooks, so I write things down, and I have ideas for several books, and I'm about 15 to 20,000 words, depending on notes and stuff. Probably about 15,000 real words into the next novel. And I don't want to say too much about that right off, because sometimes you do get 20, 30,000 words into a book and realize that you you're not ready to publish that one yet, or you don't have all the ideas together yet. But I do believe that this next one's going to go well. And it's not a book about heaven, but it is a book about life and about finding out what matters and then finding your purpose. So I really want to continue to explore these ideas.
Fantastic.
The people who may not feel that they're very important, the people who may not feel that they can do great things, actually do great things. From a Christian perspective, if you look back in the Bible, there's always the people who were used, and I think you can see this in all kinds of stories all around the world and all out throughout history. The people who were used to do the greatest things are the people who sometimes didn't believe they could do the greatest things. They're the simple person, or they're the person who maybe was in a high position and stepped down from that to do something great. And we see that also. So, it's the president everybody say, well, I'm not a president, I'm not a corporate leader, I'm not a rich person, what can I do? Well, we can all do really great things. We just don't always know it until we do it.
Fantastic. And I think it's because of such thoughts you have created on your website, authorsscottthompson.com, a special segment called Thoughts. I really loved your thoughts, and I would encourage my listeners that do pay a visit to our guest, Mr. Scott Thompson's official website, authorsscottthompson.com, and you can also know a lot about the type of stories and articles that he writes, and he has, as I mentioned, a special segment called Thoughts, where you can really get some good stuff to read about. And his book is also available right now on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. 8 Days is the name of the book that we have discussed today, and it was really lovely, sir, that you came on the show and we discussed a few things about life and how those things of life really can make an impact on us, that somebody like you can also go into story making, story writing, and ultimately give the message through the story, because we all love stories. Keep writing such wonderful stories. And any message that you would love to share with the listeners before we wind up today's talks with you?
Well, I know that a lot of writers or people who want to write stories listen to shows like this, and they read blog posts and things like that by other writers. And a lot of times they're looking for the secrets to writing. And of course, those things like studying the craft of writing, learning the skills to writing are important. Having a good story is important. But one of the most important things for creating good stories is just the discipline to write. You have to write almost every day. You have to read a lot, you have to read often, and you have to write often. So really the secret to writing, people ask me what is the secret often, and the secret to writing a book is just discipline, just doing it.
Fantastic. It was a lovely message.
Thank you for being in tune with Best Talk Show. Carry On Harry with entertainment editor Harry Johal on Bala Bala Radio, inviting music composers, producers, artists on board on Carry On Harry Talk Show for connecting you to worldwide audience. Write to Harry Johal at carryonharry.com or visit www.carryonharry.com for more details.